Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers do in the second race of the playoffs from the short track here at Richmond Raceway.
Aggressive these drivers are. No practice. First laps on the track, driving to turn one with full confidence.
And on top of that, Jeff, they haven't been here this year. A lot of tracks they've been going to lately, they've been to earlier in the year. Now, this is a completely green track as far as being here earlier in the year. This is the first time they've been here in 2020.
And on top of that, this aero package on these cars have way less downforce than they had here in the past. So all these drivers are learning their race cars, learning how they feel underneath somebody, behind somebody, completely different than last year.
Man, off of turn 4, Clint Boyer almost got into the inside of his teammate, Eric Almirola.
Unique racetrack here too, guys. The back stretch is straight, the front stretch is never straight. You're always turning through the front stretch here at Richmond.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier in the Xfinity races. Spun out the flag stand one time here. Wondered how'd I do that? But it's tough, you know. There's good grip right now on these new tires, but as you get going late into the run, you won't be wide open until you get to the flag stand, and you might even run 3/4 throttle all the way down the front straightaway to keep the rear tires from spinning out in front of the car. On the right side, you see Kyle Busch in the 95 of Christopher Bell working their way up through the field after starting at the back. One advantage both of these cars will have, Rick, will be that competition yellow on or around lap 30. That's a big break. Is if you start in the back here at Richmond, regardless of how good your car is, you see the traffic they're in versus the left side, Kevin Harvick, clean air. The leader's coming and coming quick.
Yeah, you think about that.
And you also have to remember that Kyle Busch is going to possibly miss out on stage points. He's got to work hard to get himself into the top 10. Finish out this stage.
Another thing drivers are learning is how much of these tires fall off on speed. In the Xfinity races, before this race, we saw major fall off in tire speed as the run goes on. These drivers are going to have to learn how hard they can push their cars early in the run and what the price is to pay if you push them too hard.
Denny Hamlin, one of the best on short tracks, especially here, what you could call his home track, Chesterfield, just a couple miles away from this racetrack. And you hear how long he's out of the gas through these turns.
I think that's what makes Denny Hamlin such a good short track racer, although his resume would say he can win anywhere. When I think of Denny, I think of the short tracks, and it comes down to that throttle control. I think he's one of the most talented at hard throttle. You mentioned not wide open to the start finish, Dale Jr., but that tells me that you're part throttle a long time around this racetrack.
Yeah, and I didn't like the way he drove away from that 24 car, who's now getting passed by the two, Brad Keselowski, William Byron. No, you imagine some guys may be trying to save some tire here, but the 24 car looks like he's struggling on drive-off early in this race. Parker, what are you hearing from the 18 car?
Well, Jeff, that's the interesting thing. Up until the competition caution, he flew through the field, 36th up to 21st, but since we've restarted, the progress has been a lot slower. Now, the competition gets higher, but I think the handle on that car might be going away. Take a listen to what he had to say on the radio.
Getting tight. Started 80% the whole damn run so far. Already starting to lose tire to the rest of the field.
And he's losing tires of the field. He expanded on that a little later and said, it feels like I'm going 80%, but I'm not being rewarded for it later on. And that's a really tough place to be, because as a driver, you want to be saving those tires, taking care of them, making sure that you're going to be rewarded later in that run, and start to feel that when you start to be faster than others. And if you're not, that can be very frustrating.
Well, I know he's going to be frustrated that he perhaps isn't going to score stage points with only 13 laps to go and sitting in the 13th position in this stage, but I don't think this is bad progress. He's up inside, sitting 15th. He's up inside the top 15. As Parker said, the competition gets stiffer. You talked about, Rick, how equal all these cars are. He can at least see them. He has so much of the race left.
Steve, interesting, he used that number 80% because when we talked to him earlier this week, he said that number. He said 80% was the number that he thought their car normally unloaded. We're about 80% compared to everybody else. We make maybe 5 to 10% on them, but he thinks that everybody else is unloading better than they are.
Yeah, he was pretty adamant. He thought they needed to unload closer. He was proud of the work they do during the race, proud of how they make improvements, but just as you mentioned, they start behind, they make gains, but they don't start close enough to get better than.
What I'm concerned about right now over playoff drivers is Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney, we just saw he had a penalty. He has only gotten backed up to 25th, and his lap times are a solid 0.4 of a second slower, and he's got clean air than the leader. So Ryan Blaney and this team, they're struggling. We're hearing he's very tight. Car won't turn very well. They're going to have some serious work to do right here if they're going to get where they need to be.
And it's interesting, you look at his teammates, Logano and Keselowski, they're running 3rd and 4th right now. So might be fighting the same thing, but they definitely have the track position compared to what Ryan Blaney has.
Battle for the lead. Get a little bit tighter. Austin Dillon seems to have a little bit more speed, entering the corner into the center. Gaining on Denny Hamlin. We talk about a lot of the playoff drivers during these races. Well, because they're all running toward the front of the race. One guy, though, has worked himself into the top 10 who's not a playoff driver, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that 47 car climbing through the field.
Look at the lines, how different the 3 and the 11. Look at how different they are. Denny Hamlin just all over that yellow line. Austin Dillon drives in the corner, lets it go up the racetrack in the middle, then turns it and gets it on the bottom. Marty, what do you have on Austin Dillon?
Well, Jeff, fairly consistently, Austin Dillon, to Junior's point, has been a little bit quicker than Denny Hamlin. 7 laps to go, and a playoff point will be awarded. So Austin certainly wants to get that. He's been very happy with the car, and they've been really strong on the long runs. Look at how much he gains there in the center of 3 and 4. Hey, Steve, remember a few weeks ago at the Kansas race, I was at the Command Center at RCR? I think for those Command Center guys, they can take the night off tonight, because every time you come to pit road, it's going to be 4 tires as Dillon tries to get the lead from Denny Hamlin here and get that bonus point, Rick.
Yeah, how is he able to drive so much deeper into the corner than Denny Hamlin is?
Yeah, because he's not trying to just stay on the yellow line. Denny is being Denny. What he's so good at is hitting his line, hitting his marks, being perfect every lap. Austin Dillon is just driving it. Look how far he drives in the corner, but then he can't stay on the bottom. But as it turns right here, he's able to accelerate and leave the corner straight. So 2 completely different driving styles. Both are making it happen, though.
Well, Chase Elliott down on the bottom gets into the back of Clint Boyer. 3 wide now with Martin Truex Jr. on the outside. Clint Boyer clears that sandwich.
Yeah, a little bumping and banging down there for position. That's a battle for the 7th spot. And here comes Martin Truex Jr. in the middle right now, making it work for him, trying to get by that 14 for the 7th position.
That's going to try to pin him behind lap traffic. Martin says no, down into the middle of the racetrack there, staying on the outside of the 14 car through turn 1 and 2. He clears Clint Boyer.
Clint Boyer's gotten really slow through the middle of the corner. Look at the difference in speed of the cars that are around him. Clint drives into the corner right here. He just doesn't rotate, and they're able to get a run on him. Truex missed the corner that time.
Yeah, this battle's not over yet. Clint Boyer battling back on the inside of Martin Truex Jr. down into turn 1. Ricky Stenhouse joins the battle on the inside of Chase Elliott.
Fighting for positions. Under 3 laps to go in stage 1.
It's so interesting. It looked like Boyer was in big trouble, and somehow he's found some speed here. But he's holding that line up. Look at Stenhouse all over him.
And as soon as Stenhouse got to the back bumper, he lost a lot of grip, a lot of drive off of turn 4, and loses 2 positions.
He's fighting back, though, trying not to lose that spot to Chase Elliott.
Think about that, guys. In 3 laps, Clint Boyer is potentially going to lose 3 points. They could be huge through these playoffs.
Well, and if he falls 1 more spot back, which Cole Custer would be the next one behind him, if he loses that position, he would fall outside the top 10, which then he would get no stage points.
Solid night for Cole Custer so far.
Saw the yellow light flashing at the entrance to pit road. It's closed. The final lap. Green and white checkered comes out for Denny Hamlin. He'll win stage 1. The 8th time that he has won a stage. The fight's still on here. Here comes Cole Custer. Not going to be able to get to the inside of the 14 of Clint Boyer. And so Boyer hangs on for that 10th spot. Keselowski, the 2 just behind him. Kevin Harvick in the 4 on that outside line.
Trouble for 2 or an opportunity for others, Rick. Let's see who can capitalize.
Well, Steve, look at the 18. The 18 is up here. A great pit stop. They gained 5 spots on pit road. And then you mentioned with the choose rule, they got a couple more.
13th to 8th. Throw a couple speeding penalties out. That makes him 6th. Choose a couple good spots. Here he is fighting to get inside the top 5.
Another driver working himself into the top 5 and trying to take 4th position. Martin Truex Jr. won those races here last year. Took him a while to start moving forward, guys, from that starting position back outside the top 10. But here he is.
Right on the back bumper of Kevin Harvick. He's going to move to the inside as they dive into 1.
Kevin's car is exactly like he was it just now, but behind him, Cole Custer jumped up on the outside of Kyle Busch and made that work on the outside. Now he's working on Harvick.
Battle for the lead here. Brad Keselowski trying that outside groove. Pretty impressive to see that outside attempt early on new tires. 22 misses the bottom of the corner. Brad's right there to put pressure on.
Brad had mentioned how great he felt coming to this race.
Look at Logano, he's not even trying to run the bottom. He's giving Brad the bottom of the racetrack. That is amazing. Only 3 laps into a run that you can run up there without the guy on the bottom just driving underneath you.
It's impressive the 22 car can turn and get back off the corner, giving that inside line up.
See Boyer able to get past the 18.
Yeah, Kyle's back to 9th now.
That's frustrating. You talked about it, Steve. They got some spots on pit road, did a good job on the launch on the restart, but then gave some of those spots up once they got going, and that's been the problem with this 18 car. Had good pit stops all year long. They don't have the speed that we expect to see.
Yeah, a lot of details go into racing, Rick, but in the end, the foundation of it all are good driving race cars that can make good lap time. And to Jeff's point, that's what I think the 18 has been lacking. They execute pretty well, Jeff. They just don't have the speed compared to these 2 Penske cars up front. 22 leading and the 2 car of Brad Keselowski second, Marty.
And Steve, they've shown a willingness to try that line a little bit higher. You see Brad trying to take it, trying to get around his teammate Joey Logano, and both of them running up front, running very strong at a short track in the 750 package, 750 horsepower package that NASCAR uses it here at Richmond. And I was talking to Paul Wolf, the crew chief for Joey Logano, earlier today, and he said there's been a fundamental shift among everybody in the garage area, Steve, to focus on these 750 races. Why? Because Phoenix, the championship race, will be run with this package. Remember the old way the playoffs shaped out? You worried about 1.5-mile tracks. Now, teams are really focused on this package. They know if you can run well with a short track package, you got a shot to win the title.
So very clear, there's 2 distinct packages that these guys will run when rules come into play. You run a ton of downforce and low horsepower. They call that 550 because they have approximately 550 horsepower. Here at the short tracks, 1 mile or less downforce. They call it a 750 because the engines make 750 horsepower. Those are the 2 buckets. The Phoenix race will have this 750 horsepower race package.
And these 2 Fords fighting it out right now.
Fun battle for the lead. Look at him. Now Joey's up the racetrack.
Keselowski looking good now. He's to the inside. Will he dive a little bit deeper into 1?
This is Richmond at its best when you can use multiple grooves to get around this racetrack. It provides us with really, really great battles like this. Here Brad sees an opportunity to try to roll the top, maybe get on the outside of the 22 car. He's going to turn, cut across the bottom. Just gets in the apron a little bit there.
Brad showing him, I want the bottom. He's going to drive in the corner. Can he keep it on the bottom? They're carrying that much speed. Great job right there. Advantage Brad Keselowski.
The farthest he's been up, he got all the way to the door of Logano. Can he seal the deal? Contact made. Logano up the racetrack.
I don't think they actually hit Rick, but it was close. Brad shoved up the racetrack. Joey had a moment where he just reacted to that or actually did lose the back of his race car, but I don't know if those 2 made contact at all. Very close.
So now the 2 of Keselowski leading at Richmond.
That's brought Martin Truex Jr. into the fight. These 2 guys going at it, and look how quickly Martin Truex Jr. caught up. line fascinates me. Look at Joey Logano, how low he is on the straight.
Do you think there's any, this is going to sound crazy, but just fresher pavement down there? Less traffic on it?
It could be. There. I don't know if they touched or not. I'm like you, Junior. I don't think they did. Let's get the look right here.
Yeah, I think Joey was just reacting to seeing Brad come up the track. He thought Brad was going to wrap the line and keep the left front on the yellow line there. And he's like, oh, man, maybe the two's about to drive in my door.
I bring up that fresher pavement. I agree with you guys. I don't think there was contact. It was more of, I'm going to avoid contact so I don't get wrecked.
We should have run into him at Darlington.
Oh, boy, TJ Majors. Just
TJ
stirring that
Majors
pot.
would never stir the pot.
Oh, yeah, that man's up there with a mixer. I mean, he can't even stir it quick enough by hand.
Got the spoon out.
So I will say, and what I say about that pavement is, you know, a lot of guys talk about track temperature. Are they seeing something and telling Logano, is this a strategy to run lower? I've just never seen anyone do it.
You know, I can tell you that I've always believed that a super low exit off of turn 4 has more grip. But I've never seen someone continue to run that low all the way down the straightaway. Just never seen it before. Joe Logano, he knows what he's doing. I can guarantee you that.
Logano has fallen back to second now. So it's Keselowski, Logano, Martin Truex Jr. running third. Harvick is fourth. Chase Elliott has moved up to fifth. Alex Bowman back to sixth. Kyle Busch holding on to seventh. Cole Custer is eighth. Eric Almirola ninth. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right there in the top 10 once again. Stevie's got 12 laps to go. Can he do it?
I think absolutely. He has the freshest tires. Remember, the only reason he got behind is because he hit that orange box coming to pit road. He made a second trip down pit road. So, A, I think he can unlap himself. But B, the question now moving into the final stage is, was a two-stop strategy going to work for Harvick without the penalty? That is a lot to decipher for the engineers to try to decide if they're going to alter their strategy the next time around.
What about my fantasy team?
I'm waiting.
If Harvick gets back, I've got him in the garage. If he gets back, who do I take out of the garage and put in the garage?
I didn't put him in the garage for that reason. He's going to unlap himself. There's no problem. I have Kevin Harvick finishing this race well inside the top 10. Because you need to, Kevin, because you're in the fantasy team.
Just under 10 laps to go. Keselowski, Dillon, Truex Jr., Logano, Chase Elliott. They're the top 5, and it's Kyle Busch, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch. Matt Kenseth is up there in the top 10. He's running in the 9th position, and Alex Bowman rounding out the top 10.
So as I mentioned, so he's unlapped himself. So he's basically one lap behind the leader and came down pit road in extra time. There's some calculators getting worked on very quickly here to try to figure out how to run that final stage. Dave, we see Austin Dillon recover from his speeding penalty, but the 11 of Hamlin not quite as fortunate, still back in 13th.
And he has worked so hard on his communication with Chris Gabehart, his crew chief, but I think he threw him a new one here. Listen.
Like if I run the line, my initial bite is okay, but then I get to the wall, and I mean, I just dragster light them up. I'm trying to take care of them, and it just, I lose it no matter what.
Trying to get that drive off the corner, gets next to the wall, and dragster lights him up. I think Gabehart can relate to that, but that may be the first time he's ever heard that.
Well, I want to hear it, Dragster. Let's jump inside this 11 car ride on board. Drivers, tell us what he's fighting here.
If you just listen to the throttle, you'll hear it. Look at the hands.
What you're trying to do as a race car driver is you want to get this thing pointed as quick as you can, and then go to the throttle and go to as much throttle as you can. But Denny can't do it because he's spinning the rear tires. That's what he's talking about. He dragster lights them up like a drag car spinning the rear tires. It's the worst part of the racetrack, right here, where it'll just spin them big time. Hamlin knows if he can get more rear grip, there's a lot of speed right there.
He's literally just wide open for momentarily down the front straightaway. Never wide open on the back straightaway. At least wasn't that lap. You just feel like you're just killing the rear tires trying to get to full throttle on the straightaway here.
And look at this, Kevin Harvick is coming up on the back of the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Remember, Harvick was a lap down.
3 car isn't letting this lead battle go away. 4 laps to go, coming to 3 to go. He's closed back in on Brad. Brad could be just trying to take care of his car, but pinned down on the inside of this lap car.
It will be a lap car. That's Cole Custer about to go a lap down.
He's got to fight hard right here. He is one of the playoff guys. He needs as many points as he can. That right there, that white car in front of him, that's Clint Boyer. That's the next car to go a lap down. So the last thing that Custer wants to see is the 2 car get up there and get by the 14, and it's happening quickly right here.
Coming up on 2 to go.
This takes away the opportunity for Austin Dillon to get up in there and try to win this stage with the 41 car desperately trying to be the car that stays 1 lap down. First car lap down. Clint Boyer's got to do everything in his power. Just so much speed from Keselowski, but Clint's got to fight him. Clint's got to do everything he can. Pinch him off in the middle of the corner. Pinch him off on the corner exit. Smart move there to give him that inside. Use the drive on that high side down the front straightaway.
Now he's just got to execute. Just hit his marks at this point. He did a great job off turn 4.
Cole Custer back here is cheering for him, isn't he, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Fighting Boyer, help me out.
6 years ago, Brad Keselowski got his only win at Richmond Raceway, but it's long 6 years. Coming out of turn 4, he's going to win stage 2. Dillon, Martin Truex Jr., top 3. Then it's Joey Logano, Chase Elliott crossing the stripe in 5th. All getting stage points. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Eric Almirola. Kenseth and Harvick rounding out the top 10. There's the restart. Keselowski and Martin Truex Jr. side by side. What about Logano? What a restart the 22 had right by the 19. Elliott's going to settle in the 4th spot, and Austin Dillon is 5th, but fighting for that position. The 18 of Kyle Busch looking to the inside.
Lost a few spots on pit road right there. Got to be careful not trying to get them all back at once.
Right there.
Yeah, he got loose.
It's gonna cost him this position at least. He's gonna have to battle back for it. How far he down in there?
Corner.
Wow, he's sideways right there a little bit. He's gonna get a great run off the corner though. He's using this really odd line of diming in the corner, really forcing the car down in the corner deep and then up the racetrack and then turning and running off low. Very unique line. It's making it work.
Trying to hold off the 18 of Kyle Busch. Again, this fight here is for 5th.
And behind him, Eric Almirola trying to keep pace with these guys and blocking his teammate a little bit down the front straightaway the last lap. Not wanting to give up the inside line to Kevin Harvick.
Dillon wants desperately to get to that bottom lane, but Eric Almirola fills the spot. They're lined up right now.
Eric doesn't want to give it to him and let him get back down. So Austin's going to fight for it. Still can't quite get there.
He doesn't want to get freight trained, but the 4 of Kevin Harvick filling the void behind the 10 as well.
And Austin just can't quite get off the corner. He tries to back up and fill this gap right here. You better get to the bottom though, or Kevin Harvick's going to get inside him. He's inside that quarter panel, guys.
He just couldn't quite do it. He wanted to, just never could quite get there. Now he's looking behind him. There's a hole right there in front of Kurt Busch. Just give that spot up and no, take that. Kind of stop the bleeding, so to speak. Now Austin Dillon has had a fast car all night long. Has he really been passed all night, right? On equal tires, and he just did get passed. Now he's doing an evaluation. What's wrong with my car? Why can't I go? What's going on right here? And you're nervous, you're scared that all that good run is going to go away with a bad change or putting a different set of tires on it. Got to remain calm, give information to your team, go back to work.
So we fell back to the 8th spot now. That's where he has settled in. Keselowski, Logano 1 and 2. Martin Truex Jr. 3rd. Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Almirola, and Harvick all in front of Austin Dillon. Parker.
Well, the car right behind him there, Kurt Busch, I don't know if we've talked about him a lot tonight. He has not been very happy with that one car, but he's done a great job of keeping it in the conversation in the top 10 throughout the night, getting some stage points there at one point. Kurt Busch doing great work with a car that just, he cannot seem to get the rear in the racetrack, consistently struggling to get the power down late in the runs.
Steve, we're seeing and hearing some teams talk about this two-stop last stage.
Yeah, I think in the next 3 to 5 laps, we're going to see a wave of cars hit pit road. You mentioned the pit crews. They don't need perfect stops, just no mistakes. You can't come in a second time. You can't have penalties. The drivers, I'd be reminding my driver, Dale Jr., don't hit that orange box. And we already see the first taker, the 11, Denny Hamlin, pushing the issue, Dave.
In trouble, he asked his crew chief, Chris Gabehart, can you do something strategy-wise? Well, this is the thing. They'll pit twice in this final stage. Adjustments here, trying to get Denny back on track. If you're asked to do something, Steve, you don't have very many options, but let's take one here.
Well, we saw guys that came 4 or 5 laps early. You mentioned it, Rick. The tires are good, but then they kind of level out. It's not like you continue to get beat, so we'll see if this forces someone else. Denny was pretty far back on the lead lap, so I'm not sure the leaders are concerned about Denny.
Austin Dillon going around Kyle Busch for 5th place. And Joey Logano on pit road.
Now, the leaders better pay attention if the 22's there, Marty.
And here comes Joey Logano. Paul Wolf making the call to greet him in a little bit earlier than everybody else, hoping if he can get these 4 fresh Goodyear tires of all those who are going to do 2 stops on a little bit earlier, he can gain some track position. Joey saying, I don't have the rear grip on this run that I had last time. Kevin Harvick also coming down pit road as he works his way to his stall. Harvick is in his stall. Actually said his car was a little bit too tight for Harvick, but better than it was the last run. And coming down pit road, leader Brad Keselowski, as Jeremy Mullins promised. They did flip to this 2-stop strategy. You see Martin Truex Jr. leaving pit road, Austin Dillon hitting his stall as well. So all of these leaders going to this 2-stop strategy here in stage 3, trying to win the race at Richmond. We'll see what happens.
Never thought I'd see it, Steve. These guys are all wanting to be aggressive.
Yeah, well, I think we saw in that first stage, Kevin, the 18 giving up time to the 21 pulling out, Parker.
Right, he saw that, just had to avoid Matt Benedetto, slides to a stop in his box. He said it fired off great the beginning of the run, and it just started to get too tight in the center from Kyle Busch, who lost the top 5 position to Austin Dillon late in that run, Marty.
Chase Elliott leaving pit road, having his best Richmond run in recent memory. Car's been pretty good. Chase saying he just needs more drive off the corner. Said, you made the drive better. I need a little bit more, but you've also heard the centers. Harvick flashes by Chase Elliott.
And what makes this, it didn't seem stressful when everybody was doing it, but you look on the left-hand side of your screen, the one of Kurt Busch has yet to come to pit road. What that means is, oh wait, I think he's actually, yeah.
Keep going, correct. These guys are doing 2 stops. We'll be doing 1.
All right, that's what I was waiting to hear. He's going to be on a 1-stop strategy. Why that matters is because he's going to trap folks a lap down.
We had just talked about Chase Elliott and having a little success here. When we talked to Alan Gustafson earlier this week, he said, if we learn anything from Richmond, I will be happy, because it's never been one of their better tracks. So Alan Gustafson's got to feel pretty good after the performance that he's seeing out of the 9 car tonight.
Oh, absolutely. This 9 car has been consistent. I wouldn't say it's been the best car here, but it's a couple adjustments away. It's right there inside the top 5 or 6 all night long.
Martin Truex Jr. and Martin Truex Jr. running in the 3rd spot now. His consistency has been amazing. Turning it on as the playoffs have gotten underway.
He's closed in a little bit with the 22. He's got about the same speed as the 22. The 3, though, Austin Dillon behind these 2 cars, much quicker. Almost as quick as the leader, Brad Keselowski, out front.
See if Austin can make some work of these guys.
So as the fight for that second spot heats up, it's a great time to go through the field. That way, make sure to talk about Martin Truex Jr. in the second position. Marty, let's talk about Keselowski up front, though.
We'll keep an eye on that battle as well. But Rick, earlier this week, Brad Keselowski told us as we go through the field, we've got a great shot to win it all this year because our short track program is the strength of our program at Team Penske. And if you look at the championship this year, it goes through short tracks. Once again, Brad Keselowski showing his muscle, leading 135 laps so far, Dave.
Martin Truex Jr. showed us last week at Darlington Raceway just how aggressive he would be to try to get a win late in the race, colliding with Chase Elliott. Clean pass on Joey Logano there, but a very fast 19 car tonight trying to track down Keselowski for the lead, Marty.
Day before the race, Joey Logano told me, I'm not sure the fastest car is going to win the race tonight, but you know what? It's going to be patience. That's going to be the key. Austin Dillon's already gotten by him, though, and he told me earlier this week, I love pressure situations like the NASCAR playoffs as Austin Dillon tries to come to pit road there, but misses it. Slows down and misses pit road, guys. We'll check on that and see what happened, but Austin Dillon seemed like he was slowing to come to pit road. They are on the two-stop strategy, Rick, but he missed pit road, and we saw that happen earlier in the night, too, with Martin Truex Jr. Happened here with Austin Dillon.
Mistakes, you can't make them if you want to advance into the round of 12, but Austin Dillon slow, misses pit road. This time he's on it. So the first to come to pit road on this two-stop strategy in the final stage, Marty.
Can't have mistakes like that, especially late in a race like this in round one of the playoffs. Austin Dillon has had a terrific car all evening long. We'll see how this plays out for this race team. They were thinking kind of what Joey Logano did on that first stop here in State Street. Come a little bit earlier than everybody else, get the Goodyear tires on, and then see what happens. So going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires here. Austin Dillon saying he needed more drive off. They've been so good on the long run all night long. We'll see where this cycles out in the 3 car.
That's definitely early for someone to come to pit road. 63 laps to go, only 45 laps in the tires. I would expect for him to run about another 6 or 8 laps. Here it is, guys. Seems like a last-minute decision or just mistimed, and it's hard to say, but I think a good decision to go back on the racetrack. There's no way he would have got below that orange box.
Well, part of the problem
We can still win this race.
there you go, I like it. I'm not going to quit. Part of the problem was that he wasn't able to get slow enough to get all 4 tires on the apron. He had 2 on the apron and 2 on the banking, and it's hard to brake like that. It's hard to keep the car slowed down.
Don't overdrive it. Keep them calm.
Just simply trying to carry too much speed.
He's about 4 seconds behind Brad Keselowski when he made that mistake. Came to pit road probably about 6 seconds behind the leader. He's hoping to be able to cut 6 seconds from Brad Keselowski right now. When this cycles, it will definitely put him in the lead if we do not have a yellow.
Yeah, for sure, because no one else has countered his move, right? No one has decided they need to come as well. I think they're concerned about having 60 laps on their tires or going to the finish. So
They were hoping, I'm sure, that they might bring more people to pit road, but they also have confidence in their car's long run speed.
Here comes Hamlin. Dave.
Yep, they'll come to pit road now for their final stop, maybe. 4 fresh tires and Sunoco fuel for Denny. They asked him if the center was any better, and he said, yeah, but I've been in clean air, so not a real good judgment on it. Just not the car he had at the beginning of the night. It's been a struggle most of the evening for Hamlin. Marty?
Here comes everybody else down pit road, including Chase Elliott and Joey Logano. He said he lost a little bit of drive on that run for Logano. 4 fresh Goodyear tires. It's a call from Paul Wolf. Also going to make an air pressure adjustment and a wedge adjustment, Parker.
Ryan Blaney also coming down pit road is really struggling throughout this race. He's complex about being able to get the car into the corners using the brake. They told him, you're actually using more brake than others. He said, I don't know how that's possible, Marty.
Brad Keselowski, an outstanding run. What could be the final stop of the night at Richmond. They have been dominant here this evening. 4 fresh tires. Brad wants no adjustments to the car. He has said it's gotten a little bit tighter the longer they run, but they have barely turned anything on this car in terms of an adjustment today, Parker.
The solid run continues for Alex Bowman. just a little bit of a drive off there in the 88 Ford tires for him, Dave.
Clint Boyer leaves after 4 tires in Sunoco fuel. Still a little bit loose for the 14 car.
A little bit longer. You're going to see instantly what new tires are worth as Brad Keselowski is going to easily streak by. So this idea for the 18, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, is they know they're going to probably come to pit road again, but they want to have better tires at the end of this run. So they're going to run a little bit longer here, and that will put them in the offense. You know, when they pit, they're going to split it up. Math would say dead in the middle, so probably 2 or 3 more laps for Kyle Busch, probably 2 more laps, and he'll come to pit road.
And as Brad Keselowski crosses the finish line now in the lead lap, it shows that he is only a couple seconds behind Austin Dillon. So Austin Dillon did cycle in front of Brad, but not very much.
Not as much as he needed to. Obviously a slow lap when he missed pit road. And also that was the slowest pit stop they had all night long. So a little mistake by the pit crew and a mistake by the driver as well. Dave.
Here's William Byron on pit road now. Struggle all evening for the 24 car. Has been off the lead lap most of the night. They'll get their set of tires here at Sunoco Fuel.
William Byron in the playoffs, fighting to stay in for the round of 12, but you know it's going to be difficult if you go to Bristol and are in a must-win situation. Parker.
And Steve, you were correct. It was about 3 more laps before Kyle Busch decides to come down pit road. He's been very happy with that car, just saying it's a little bit loose off of the center turn. Has gotten a lot better throughout the run. Just doesn't quite have the speed to go up there and contend for the lead. It looks a little slow there on the rear for Kyle Busch in 4 tires, 18.
Harvick on his way in.
Dragging the left front tire, trying to get to pit road.
Didn't want to have another mistake, Marty.
Making sure he didn't hit that box this time, Rick. And whether this works out or not, you got to give Rodney Childers credit. Of course, they have the wins in the bank that we've talked about, but at least they're trying something different tonight than everybody else. Pitting later than everyone else with 52 to go. What they think should be the final stop of the night. A little tape on the front of the grill as well for Harvick, who struggled with a little bit of a tight car on that run. We'll see how this works out and where he cycles out with everybody else.
Cycles Kurt Busch into the lead, but Austin Dillon is within a second taking that lead from Kurt Busch.
And his concern is out the back. The 2 of Brad Keselowski. Kurt Busch, I think, will easily be overtaken on those old tires. Brad Keselowski inside the 3 car. This will be for the lead eventually, Rick.
There you see Kurt Busch on the inside. He's going to let the lappers have the outside of the racetrack here, that outside line. I think that the 3 car will take that as well.
And the 3 trying to get by the 1, but he's got pressure behind him from the 2. Austin Dillon back to the point at Richmond.
Denny Hamlin behind these guys, trying to get around there and get his lap back.
Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski. 1 and 2. Keselowski looking to the inside, trying to take the lead away. And Keselowski once again is up front.
I was trying to figure out how the 11 lost so much time. We're hearing he had a 15-second pit stop, so that's why he looks a lap down.
Keselowski continuing to add to his laps led, 144 and counting.
Dillon sitting in the 4th position. It may not be the win tonight. He's still trying to get by Joey Logano there for 3rd. They've shown so much strength on the long run. But even if it's not the win for Austin Dillon, what an impressive performance in these first 2 playoff races. 2nd at Darlington, right now top 5 here at Richmond, trying to get a little bit more. And he said, I've always loved these pressure situations. I'm so thankful my parents had me play other sports as a kid. I played the Little League World Series. I've been asked to take the final shot in a basketball game, so these playoffs and the pressure they bring, I love that situation. And Austin Dillon and RCR have certainly answered here early in the 2020 playoffs, showing their strength. And right now, Rick, very comfortably looking good in the playoffs. Plus 37 as it runs right now. They would go into Bristol, the final race of this first round.
I think they have been the surprise of the round of 16. When you were looking at the 4 cars that you didn't think were going to advance into the round of 12, I think a lot of people looked at that 3 and said, I don't know if he's got what it takes. We haven't seen it throughout the regular season, but right now, when it all matters, when it counts, he's shown up. A second place finish last week at Darlington and now running here in the top 5. Parker?
Well, one team that was so excited to make it in the playoffs, that driver right there, Matt DiBenedetto, but have not shown up since we got in the playoffs. Last week at Darlington, just did not have the speed in the car, finished 21st. They were really looking forward to tonight because this is a package that Matt's driving style really suits, this high horsepower, low downforce, but they have not had the speed once again. They were in the lucky dog position for a lot of this race, but obviously we have not gotten that caution to get them back on the lead lap. So what are they looking forward to from here? Well, right now, if they finish where they are, they can be 25 points out of the cut line going to Bristol. But Bristol, remember, is where Matt came so close to beating Denny Hamlin last year in that 95 car. Maybe gave him the shot at this 21 car. He's going to have to throw a Hail Mary, but what a better place to go than Bristol where he came so close.
I think what concerns me a lot about this 21 car, guys, is that they really started to lose some speed as the playoffs approached. They had a pretty comfortable lead to get into the playoffs, and it kept getting whittled away, and that's continued. They lost momentum, and they hadn't been able to get it back.
Yeah, momentum is critical, and we've seen it work the other direction with Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick. Those guys bringing a lot of momentum into the start of the playoffs. As you mentioned, Matt DiBenedetto, it was almost like he was hanging on, trying just to do enough to stay in the playoffs as opposed to creating that momentum so that he could advance through this first round.
Chase Elliott, remember last week, he and Martin Truex Jr. battled for the win, ends up wrecking. Needed a good solid night tonight for points, and they've gotten that so far. Done a nice job, got 9 points earned today so far. So a good solid run, Marty.
And I go back to what Chase told me before the race. We don't need anything spectacular. We need solid, and we need to get better. And I would say the best run for Chase Elliott at Richmond in recent memory. They went back to a 2018 setup from the fall in that race. Alan Gustafson told me, listen, I felt like we were okay in that race, but this by far better than I think Chase or that team expected tonight at Richmond right now running in the top 5.
You know, the interesting thing that Alan said that really caught my attention was he said, you know, Darlington, we were trying to win the race. We feel pretty good that we could go run, you know, 5th to 7th, about everywhere we go. It's a gamble to try to get better than that because you can get worse. It seems like here tonight, a track they don't have a lot of confidence, they kind of shored up and did what they needed to do. It'd be interesting to see the approach next week at Bristol if they are fortunate enough to finish this one off where they run.
Austin Dillon was sliding backwards, but has now seemed to level out and actually is putting the pressure on this 22 car, trying to retake that 3rd position back away from Joe Logano as we close in on the final few laps of this race. Was worried about that 3 car falling back once Brad Keselowski went around him, but their long run speed in this car is so impressive.
Again, a win, you advance. That's the way it works in the playoffs. And the bottom 4 in points are eliminated after each 3 race stage or rounds. And we just saw there, Austin Dillon.
When do we take this 3 car seriously? I mean, is it just 2 races we've seen this round enough to look at them as a contender to move deeper, even deeper into the playoffs?
Well, I can tell you right now, William Byron, Cole Custom, Matty D, and Ryan Blaney are taking the 3 car very seriously because his performance is eliminating at least one of those cars.
Right now, if things ended right now today, he is 38 points to the good going to Bristol. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have picked that? Give him credit, right? Big moments. That's when, you know, Austin talked about it. He played basketball, he played baseball, he did those things. this team has stepped up. Team and driver have stepped up for the playoffs. Got to reward them and just, you know, give them credit.
They've done a phenomenal job already at the start of these playoffs. The one thing that will hurt them is they didn't get a lot of playoff points throughout the regular season. That's what advances from round to round with each team.
And interesting there. He gets the position for the 22, but now Joey Logano's fighting back. Brad Keselowski's out front. And these are the races where when there's no yellows, you don't want to give NASCAR any reason to throw a yellow because it won't take much. We've gone green flag for pretty much the whole night. Brad Keselowski's comfortably ahead, 7 laps to go. But anything can bring out a yellow here late.
Hey, what's going on with this 3 car? He got by Logano, looked like he was going to drive away, and then all of a sudden, he's lost some speed here.
It's weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, and behind him, Chase Elliott in that 9 car is starting to run him down a little bit.
Coming up on 5 laps to go. Junior, you mentioned it, a race where there has not been an incident on track to bring out a caution.
Yeah.
There was a competition caution. The end of stage 1, the end of stage 2. Those are the only 3 times that the yellow flag has been displayed.
I mean, a car brushes the fence, any kind of debris pretty much anywhere on the property is probably going to bring out a yellow right now for Brad Keselowski. And he doesn't want that, obviously. Coming to 4 to go.
I will say, though, I'll give NASCAR credit. You know, a couple years ago, they made the statement, we're going to be very clear and clean with our yellows. And I think they've done overall a pretty good job since then.
Well, it's been a phenomenal Penske day as Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano are looking very strong here in the Cup Series race, which is the second race of the playoffs. Earlier today, Austin Cindric in the Xfinity Series clinched the regular season championship. That's going to be a lot of playoff points for him that he'll be able to advance through the rounds. Also, he's had great success as far as winning. Will Power, Penske's IndyCar driver, also has won today. And now Brad Keselowski, who earlier this week called his shot, said, we think we would be disappointed if we didn't go out and dominate and win the race at Richmond. He said that 3-4 days ago. And now, with just 2 laps to go and a 2.5 second lead, Brad Keselowski is backing up what he said earlier. Win in advance.
White flag, 1 more, 2.6, he won't get to you.
One more time around, you heard it. He won't get to you. 2.6 seconds, the difference between Keselowski and Martin Truex Jr. Mentioned earlier. It was all the way back in 2014. 6 years ago, the last time Brad Keselowski won at Richmond. This one takes him all the way to the round of 12. He wins again at Richmond.
Yeah, that's awesome. Set out with a goal, we got it here, bud. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was a great race here, Marty, for us and the 2 team. This is, I think, my car from Loudon. I think that's what
It
they
is,
told me.
yes.
And, you know, I wanted to do a really cool burnout with it, but I want this car for Phoenix. It's 2 for 2, and, man, I'm real pumped. I don't want to look too far ahead. We got to get there. The next round's going to be really difficult, but still, I'm really pumped about this performance and the way we ran on short tracks. And felt like coming in here with the Western Star Alliance Ford Mustang that we would run well, Marty, but man, this thing was awesome.
Well, so what kind of statement, Brad, is this for Phoenix that could be what's coming and what your team could do when you get to that track?
We got to get there. You know, the last few years I haven't made it all the way, so we got to get all the way there, but if we can get to Phoenix, we're going to be really good.
To dominate on a night like this, Brad, when strategy is all over the place, how patient did you have to be when cars were in front of you on different strategies all night long?
Very patient. I tell you, it's a chess game, and I got blinders on. I don't know what everybody's doing and who's where and who's on what strategy, but Jeremy Bowens, the whole 2 team, excellent performance. I can't thank them enough. Thank you, team. Thank you, everybody at Team Penske that gave me such a great car, and it's a really special day, Marty. Thank you.
He leads 192 laps. He called it on Thursday, Rick. He said, if we don't go dominate and win, we're going to be disappointed. I think Brad Keselowski has a lot to be happy about tonight here at Richmond.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.